Hi, boys and girls, and welcome to another great day of learning. We are your teachers today. I'm Miss Amanda.
And I'm Miss Summer. We are so glad to be with you today for tons of fun, reading, and knowledge.
Now, I want to share our great learning goals with you. We are going to have lots of information today. So we're going to start by working together to explain why nature and ecosystems are constantly changing. And then we'll describe the balance of nature and what it looks like in an ecosystem. And we're going to talk about how changes in an ecosystem are caused by natural events and by human events. Now, our focus standards today are RI.3.3, 7, and 9, and also L.3.4 and SL.3.1.
That's right. You've already spent some time in previous lessons learning about ecosystems. We will be adding to that knowledge today.
Now, think about what you've already learned about ecology. I know you've discussed food webs, and those are multiple food chains that overlap to form complicated patterns. You've also learned about trophic levels, being the connecting steps in a food chain or food web.
Now, think about the work you've done with energy pyramids. On an energy pyramid, which group has the most energy? Ah, yes, producers. Which group has less energy? If you said consumers, you got it.
Now, in a few minutes, we'll read about producers and consumers. But first, we do need to look at some critical vocabulary to help us understand what we're reading.
Ah, great. Vocabulary is so interesting because these words give us great knowledge about our topic. Let's look at our first word, disruptions. The word disruptions will be classified as a noun, a plural noun actually, because it's indicating more than one disruption. Disruptions are separations or interruptions that break up a pattern or flow.
Now, here's a motion that we could do for disruptions. This will help us remember it. We could just do like this. All right, and I could say, Tina's mother put her book down, threw her hands up, and proclaimed, "You kids are causing too many disruptions for me to read."
Perfect example, scholars. What's the word? Yes, disruptions.
All right, we'll put this here on our anchor chart to remind us that disruptions are separations or interruptions that break up a pattern or flow. Now, our second word is equilibrium. Equilibrium is a state of balance. Now, I'm going to show you a motion to help us remember equilibrium.
I could use equilibrium in a sentence like this. Before adding new fish to his aquarium, Finn had to make sure that the chemicals in the water were in a state of equilibrium. Otherwise, it would not be a healthy habitat for his fish.
Excellent example. So what's our word, friends? That's it, equilibrium. We'll put it here to remind us that it's a state of balance.
Now we have the word gradual. That's an adjective.
Right. Gradual describes a way of changing or moving slowly over a long period of time. So do this motion with me to help us remember gradual.
So learning to read and write is a gradual process, taking years to master.
True, true. Excellent use of gradual, Miss Summer. Do you have our next word?
I do. Overpopulation, that's a noun. Overpopulation is when too many people or animals are living in a particular area.
Ah, yes. This helps me remember overpopulation. When there is an overpopulation of deer in a particular area, they sometimes have difficulty finding food. So, what's our word, friends? That's it, overpopulation.
We have a couple of more words. Let's look at this one. Stable. It's an adjective. It means firmly established, not likely to change or move very much.
So how about let's do this for stable.
Perfect, Miss Amanda. I could say Carlos decided that he was ready to adopt a kitten and give it a stable home. What's the word? Stable.
Nice work. Now we have our final word. This word is static. For our text today, we'll use static as an adjective. It means showing little or no change or progress, having a lack of movement. For example, the number of new students entering Lincoln Elementary School for the past 5 years has remained static. I like to do this motion to help me remember static.
So we've got quite a list of words here. Let's make sure you've got them all. I'll say the definition and you tell me the correct word.
That is a great plan. And I'll be here to be sure we get these words and definitions just right.
Here we go. A state of balance.
Great thinking. Equilibrium.
Great start. Showing little or no change or progress. Having a lack of movement.
What do you think, scholars? There you go. Static.
All right. Separations are interruptions that break up a pattern or flow.
Aha, you knew it. Disruptions.
How about too many people or animals living in a particular area?
You were quick with that one. Overpopulation.
Amazing. Let's try this one. Changing or moving slowly over a long period of time.
You knew it. Gradual.
And finally, firmly established, not likely to change or move very much.
You know the motion for this one. That's it. Stable.
Great work, scholars. Now that we know our critical vocabulary, let's get ready to move on to our text. While we read, we want you to listen carefully and learn more about the balance of nature and listen for our vocabulary words.
Welcome back, ecologists. Zeke here. You've learned that plants and animals share planet Earth, depending upon one another for survival. Animals and plants are all links in a chain of feeding habitats, or feeding habits. One organism eats another until the top predator dies and its decayed remains return to the soil, providing nutrients to start the whole cycle over again. The ongoing regular completion of this energy cycle in food chains determines an ecosystem's ability to survive. All links need to be in place. Food chains are only one of the important cycles for life here on Earth. Cycles are common in every ecosystem. What are some living and non-living cycles you have learned about? You may have thought about other cycles like the water cycle or the rock forming cycle. Now, speaking of the water cycle, what are the 3 stages of the water cycle? We know precipitation, condensation, and evaporation are the 3 stages of the water cycle. What non-living cycles do you see happening in this image?
As you can see by the arrows, rock-forming magma or lava cycles out from the Earth's mantle, spilling over the Earth, eventually becoming rock that breaks down, returning to the Earth's crust. In addition, water, minerals, and nutrients are all cycled throughout Earth's atmosphere. When the decomposers do their work, they are recycling carbon dioxide, water, and minerals. Plants, in turn, release oxygen, an important gas for all human and animal life, into the air. As long as these cycles remain undisturbed, life continues in a balanced way, everything distributed to living organisms and their surrounding environment in balanced proportions. Life on Earth is well adapted to the planet's cycles. Its cycles help to keep Earth in balance. Change is a normal part of life. Think of all the changes you have experienced in your life. Hundreds and hundreds of changes. The same is true of our planet. It is constantly changing. Most of these changes are small, but sometimes changes in Earth's cycles affect all life on the planet, upsetting Earth's equilibrium.
Ecosystems are not static, meaning that they never stay the same. Rather, ecosystems change over time. All plant and animal species adapt to their environments, like the desert cacti and the Arctic fox. Many species have adapted in response to certain changes. In this image, the grass has adapted, which causes the lemmings to adapt as they eat it, which causes the fox to adapt as it eats the lemmings. In nature, these changes are generally gradual. Conditions in the environment change very slowly, over hundreds and thousands of years, allowing plants and animals to adapt gradually as well. When these changes occur slowly, the cycle of energy remains in balance or in equilibrium with nature. One stable condition gradually changes into another stable condition over long periods of time, and with very few disruptions or disturbances to nature's cycles. This is called the balance of nature. All ecosystems need a variety of species at each trophic level to ensure the health of the whole community. Diversity or variety in food webs increases the survival of each species, from the spiny cacti and deadly scorpions of the desert to the hairy apes and the brightly colored toucans of the rainforest. The more varied the animal's diet, the stronger its chances of survival. Some animals have very limited diets. Can you think of an animal that eats only one thing? The koala eats only eucalyptus leaves from gum trees. The panda bear eats only bamboo. Imagine what happens if that one food source is wiped out. Changes to one of the species in an ecosystem can affect the entire ecosystem. No food, no life. Think about it. Humans survive in large part because they have a varied or variety in their diet. Humans eat many different things, meaning they're not dependent on one source of food. They are adaptable.
This connection is dependent on the balance of nature. Think back to the energy pyramid. There are more insects than any other group of living organisms at the second trophic level of the energy pyramid. Insects are kept in balance by feeding on one another as well as by feeding on plants. We sometimes think of insects as pests, yet they perform many important jobs. Bees are examples of an important insect. They can deliver a painful sting, but we depend upon their role in the food chain. Bees feed on nectar from flowers, pollinating plants to ensure the growth of new fruits and vegetables. Both the bee and the plants need one another to exist. They are an example of nature's wonderful balancing act. Animal populations are kept in balance by the amount of food available and by predators in the food chain. For example, mice are usually plentiful on a farm. Mice feed on seeds. Seeds are most plentiful in the summer when rain is heavy and vegetables grow in abundance. Mice eat more and have more babies in the summer. They also provide hawks and owls with more food during the summer months. When winter comes, fewer seeds are available, and the mice tend to have fewer babies. That means that there are fewer mice for the hawks and owls to eat in winter. These birds of prey have less to eat, so they tend to raise fewer young. Otherwise, they must move to new locations or risk starving to death. In this way, the animals balance nature. Mice have enough to eat, and so do hawks and owls. The food chain is stable, so the seasonal cycles work together with the food chain cycles. Animal populations are naturally kept in equilibrium by the well-established food webs in nature. When an ecosystem becomes unbalanced or unstable, organisms react to these changes, often restoring the balance of nature and bringing the ecosystem back into equilibrium. This balance, however, is not always restored. Sometimes humans interfere. Cycles are disrupted and unexpected consequences may result. For example, what happens if the farmer gets upset with the hawks and owls, believing that they are eating his chickens? He shoots them, destroying the natural predators of mice and other rodents. Without danger from these birds of prey, the mice scamper out into the fields and begin to eat more than their share of the farmer's crops. Nature is thrown off balance. This is disequilibrium. Notice how adding the prefix dis changes the meaning of equilibrium. Disequilibrium means out of balance. A problem begins as the mice begin to destroy the grasses, the first link in the human food chains.
The white-tailed deer provide another example of animal overpopulation. White-tailed deer have lived in our forest for thousands of years and used to be kept in check by their natural predators, coyotes, wolves, and mountain lions. Over the years, though, humans have killed these natural enemies of the deer, leaving the deer at the top of their food chain. Many more deer lived, resulting in an overgrown deer population. At the same time, humans made other changes to deer habitats. Loggers entered the forest and cut down large areas of trees, leaving behind low-lying vegetation that deer love. With this new and plentiful food source, the deer did not have to work as hard to get food. Their populations grew and grew. Meanwhile, with all those cut logs from the forest, humans built new homes on the edge of the woods. Today, deer can easily wander out of the woods and be found foraging for vegetables and flowers in people's yards. Some people are angry. These animals, once known for their beauty, are now considered a problem instead. Humans build fences and plant foods that deer do not like, trying to encourage them to go back to the forest. But so far, the deer are winning the battle. Life in the forest is unbalanced, forcing changes all along the food chain. Changes to an ecosystem may be natural or caused by humans. Some changes are worse than others. Sudden changes are worse than natural, gradual changes. When changes destroy plant and animal habitats, part of our nature's balance is also destroyed. Be thinking about changes to the planet that might destroy animal habitats. I'll share some of those with you next time. Also, be thinking about ways you can help keep our world in beautiful, natural balance. I'll see you again soon.
That was such an informative text. The equilibrium in nature is so important to all living things.
That's exactly right. Scholars, let's review what we learned from this text. What does it mean if something is static? Yes, it does not change. Now, are ecosystems and nature static? Why or why not? No, ecosystems and nature are not static because animals and plants adapt in response to their environments.
You heard that in some areas, overpopulation has become a serious problem with the white-tailed deer species. When they leave the woods and go foraging in gardens, some humans can become very upset. How did this disequilibrium occur? Good thinking. Humans killed the natural enemies of deer and changed their habitats through logging and building homes. On this same topic, was that change in their deer population caused by natural or human event? True. It was caused by a human event.
Right. Now, Miss Summer, let's take a little time here to discuss some of those disruptions, all right? Like this human disruption that we just talked about. Now, we have a T-chart here that helps us to determine different things, such as events. We'll also have some examples of events, and we want you, scholars at home, to work with us to determine if these events, these disruptions, are natural, all right, if they were related to nature, or if they were human disruptions.
That will be so helpful for us to work to minimize human disruptions.
True.
So if the disruption is a human disruption, we will place it here. If it is a natural disruption, we'll put it over here.
All right, so here's our first event. Change of seasons. What do you think, friends? Is this human or natural?
I like the way you are thinking through this, ecologist. Seasons are a natural change. Let's look at this one. A farmer shooting predators such as hawks or coyotes. Natural or human disruption?
While farmers do have to protect their crops, shooting predators is still a human disruption. So let's do a few more. What about building too many homes in animal habitats?
There you go. Humans do have control over that. So it's a human disruption. Last one. A late frost that caused a change of food availability. Human or natural disruption?
Way to use your knowledge. Humans have no control over when it's cold enough to bring a frost outside. So that one is definitely a natural disruption.
Excellent work with these disruptions. While things in nature are always changing and adapting, it's still important for humans to work to minimize disruptions in nature.
Very true. And we can all do our part to keep that natural equilibrium. I must say, ecologists, we've had some great learning here today.
I concur. I have learned even more about our wonderful world. I know you have too. Be sure to share something you've learned with someone in your home.
Yes, yes. And parents and families, now would be a great time to discuss the changes in nature that you've seen over time. Discuss what those changes are and how they affected our world. Friends, we've had so much fun today. We hope you've enjoyed our time together. Now we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, yes. Please join us again as we continue to explore all kinds of animals, places, and events in our world. Thanks for doing your best today, scholars. And remember to read each day and share what you've learned through your reading.
All rights and credits for today's lesson belong to Core Knowledge Language Arts. We would like to thank them for publicly sharing these valuable resources. The views and opinions expressed in this lesson are those of the Core Knowledge authors and do not necessarily affect or reflect the policy or position of the Mississippi Department of Education. Thank you again, scholars, for joining us today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.